You are listening to the 5 a.m. podcast, and today is your day. Welcome to the 5 a.m. podcast. I'm your host, Michael Klassen, and today we have a truly inspiring guest, Richard Walsh, CEO of Sharpen the Spear Coaching, a best-selling author, a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, champion, boxer, black belt, and a man who's helped many transform their lives along the side of his own. Richard's mission is to help entrepreneurs escape what he calls the owner prison, that trap where your business owns you instead of the other way around. He's here to share his journey, his mindset, and the strategies that help you regain control, double your profits, and create real freedom and impact in your business and life. So get ready for a powerful conversation that will challenge how you think about business ownership and success. Now, before we get started, please remember that you can support the work of 5 a.m. podcast at buymeacoffee.com/5am podcast. You'll see that QR code periodically through the interview, and we do appreciate those delicious virtual cups of coffee. Now, Richard, welcome to the 5 a.m. podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Michael. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be great.
Yes. Well, let's wind back the clock and look, we could look to the past, the 09, 08, that kind of region in there, man. Your journey was like losing everything. Things were dropping like flies. And now you then became a best-selling coach and author. So that's remarkable. Can you share what that low point taught you about business and life?
Yes, I can, because I'm still alive. So
Yeah.
I can share my failures. Yeah, 08, 09 came. So about 20 years in the business. Okay, I was a custom water feature builder and I was a steel sculptor, like internationally recognized steel sculptor. I'm one of the best water feature builders in the country, and I'm in magazines and TV and winning stuff, and things were really amazing. You know, I'm making great money and everything else. And then 08, 09 comes, and I remember the day, November 5th, 2008, day after the election, my phone started ringing. I lost $500,000 on that day. And that was the beginning of the cliff, Michael. Okay. No one was spending money. If you remember, everyone was clutching to every penny they had because the whole world was like insane. Right. So I'm like, wow, I hung up the phone at the end of the day. I looked over my office manager. I'm like, I think it's over. I don't know how we're going to get through this. And it kept getting worse. We limped through part of 09. Then finally it was just, I did a lot of, to wrap the story, I did a lot of dumb things to keep the business going. And that's what you do when your business is your identity. Okay. So big takeaway here, as men, especially, usually what's the first question you ask someone when you meet them?
Yeah. What do you do for a living?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an identity question is what that is. It seems like an icebreaker, but it's really like, so I was that guy, and I'm like, well, if I'm not doing this, I'm nobody. Mm-hmm. Now I'm not saying that to myself, but I feel it. I'm in it. And I'm like, how do I save this? How do I save this? Now at this time I had 6 kids, 4 years and younger. Okay. My wife, my house. Now we're losing the house. We're losing the business. I'm trying to keep things going. And then there was a morning I woke up, I'm in bed, and I had this epiphany. And I started thinking like, my kids don't care what kind of truck I drive or how many I have. They don't care what kind of house we live in. They don't care what I actually do for a living. All they wanted me was to be around, and I never was able to be around. And one day my 4-year-old was chasing my truck as I'm going out of the driveway. He's crying because I'm leaving. Deep. Oh, and you just watch him get smaller in the rearview mirror because you got to go to work. I got to go to business. I got to go save the business. And that really hit me. I got out of bed. I walked in the office and said, we're done today. Drove to my construction yard, told my guys, and they've been with me over 10 years. All right, same guys. Had our last cup of coffee. I said, we're done, guys. I can't do this anymore. And I realized, I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I had no idea, but I know I'm losing everything. I said, but what I'm not going to do is what I'm doing now. I'll never build another water feature, and I'll never do another sculpture. That was like my declaration, right? And meanwhile, I got a bonfire in the backyard burning all my uniforms, like on video. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Had no clue what to do from there. Yeah. But I kind of made that declaration, and it was kind of interesting because now it's been 16 years, and I haven't built a water feature. I haven't done a sculpture. Even though there's money in that, I could go back and do it. And I was great. I didn't. I opened a gym and I opened a construction business and I did other things. But that was really hard. We had to relocate. We left the state of Illinois, moved to Wisconsin, started over again. Like, what are we going to do? We got 4 little kids. We got 6 little kids, 4 and under. What am I going to do? Trying to figure things out. I had to liquidate everything, and all that kind of stuff. It was really difficult. So I like to say I kind of went green acres on my wife.
Wow.
So we went from like in, Chicago area to like a farm, basically one neighbor a half mile one way and a half mile the other, and no one in front or back. I'm like, this is living.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I want. I don't want to be around anybody now. And it took a little while for her to adjust, but that was kind of the beginning of like, well, what am I really doing? I know what I just did for 20 years, and it was a lot of fun, and I did some really cool stuff, and there's a lot of struggles in that. But like, what am I to do going forward?
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
And be around for my kids. How can I go work? Because when all you know is work, all you know is work. Okay. So anything I would do, I'm like, good, I get to go work 12, 14 hours a day. This is going to be awesome. But now I'm like, I can't do that because of what I'll be doing to my children. So it changed my entire perspective there. So I started looking like, well, okay, maybe I can train people. I'm a big fitness guy. So I did that. I started training people. I started going to Anytime Fitness. I'm like, go to Anytime Fitness and I'll be a trainer. I started training. Well, next thing you know, Michael, I'm trainer of the year. Okay. So I'm like, oh, now you know what that means. I got to go open a gym now, because I'm an entrepreneur. So I went and opened a gym for boot camp style training and everything else. And that was a lot of fun. Did that. Then that grew for a bit. Then I went into a construction business, roofing, siding, windows, did that for a bunch of years. And then I started helping other businesses. Okay, because they asked me, well, how'd you do all that? How'd you go from that to nothing to this and this? And I said, well, what are you doing? And I started talking to them, and I started helping them. I talked to another one. And the whole thing was I saw the same patterns. They're all doing the same wrong things. So I'm like, well, I can fix this. I can coach these people. I can do this. So I wrote Escape the Owner Prison. That was my book, right? And that became a bestseller. And I started helping guys, built an academy around it, and started coaching and went through a few iterations, and here we are today.
Wow. Okay, so then important question. Bears fan, or did you convert to the green machine?
So I'm going to disappoint everybody.
Okay.
I'm no fan of any sports. So I was a boxer, right? I was a boxer, all that stuff. So that's cool. But sports does not consume my life in the slightest, Michael. I got way bigger things to do.
Yes. Man.
So,
well, yes. And, from my background in broadcasting, the amount of sports that my wife and I were on cruise for, it's like, I'm sorry, I cannot watch. It's so hard to watch a sports event because for us, it feels like work. And then you get into the whole side of the politics and all of that stuff behind it. So, but I had to ask about the Bears or the...
it's Packers, Bears, that's a whole rivalry. I get all that, but I like to tell people, you know why my wife loves me? You know why I've been married 26 years?
Yeah.
Because I don't watch any sports. Okay. So those hours are not taken from me. Now I can easily slide into my work.
Yes.
Fill that gap with work, but I've learned to balance that out.
Yes. That clock on the wall. So then in your talk about owner prison, can you kind of define those two words for us? And why do so many entrepreneurs find themselves trapped behind those iron bars?
Yeah, so this is what it looks like. You got a skill, you got a trade, right? I'm a plumber, I'm a HVAC guy, I'm whatever, carpenter, I'm a tech genius. Well, why work for someone when I could get all the money? I'll go do it myself. And off they go. And they're still swinging a hammer or punching the keys or whatever. They get this business going, and this is how it works when you're starting a new business. You're going to wear 9 hats. You're going to work endless hours for the first 2 years. At least, right? Get everything going, get it off the launch pad, then go. Well, the problem is, the owner person is, next thing you know, 10 years has gone by and you've repeated the first 2 years 5 times. That's the owner person. If you don't unlock the door, business doesn't happen. If you don't close the big deals, business doesn't happen, right? If you don't manage people, if you're not showing up on the crew to make sure it's done right, it's not done right. So that's the owner person. You got into business for freedom. Because I'm going to work for myself. I'll set my own hours, and the old saying, you get to work the 80 hours on your terms a week.
Yes, right.
Okay, so and then all of a sudden you don't go to your kids' games. You don't see your daughter's recital. You don't have date night with your wife. Okay, because you're working to create freedom. 10 years later, same thing. You're making a little more money, but not enough to actually make any impact or do anything with, right? That's the owner prison. That's what I decided. It's like, that's where we all were. If I'm the only guy who can do this. Well, first of all, that's one of the big lies we tell ourselves. Okay. I guarantee there's a lot of people better than you doing what you do, so it's a thing. Right. So a lot of times we have to have those difficult conversations in the beginning. So the goal is to get away from that. We call it automate, delegate, and eliminate. There's 3 things you do in your business. Automate whatever you can. So you got systems, processes, virtual assistants, whatever that is, right? And then delegate, give that work to others, right? Set them up for success, give it to them. And then eliminate is like, yeah, okay, redundancies, cost overruns, eliminate that. But the big thing to eliminate is you. Eliminate you from the business. Okay, we call it working on your 5%. You should be working on only the 5% only you can do in the business. Anyone can do accounting. Anyone can do sales, contrary to your belief that you're the salesman. Okay, you're not. Okay, so there's other people. So we want to do all that and really remove you so that you're focused on strategy and growth, right? Reeling in the next big deal, right? What territory are we going to take next? You're actually looking at the whole war map and not just one battle. When you're in the owner prison, you're one battle at a time. So you don't even know what war you're fighting. All you know is you're in a battle. So there's no point of victory ever.
Right. And a lot of fog.
Yeah, a lot of fog. A lot of fog. So yeah, that's the owner prison. And many people, when they'll tell me their situation, Michael, and I'll just hand them the book. And they look at it and they go, that's me. That's where I'm at. I go, there you go. So it's like, so there's, we want to give them freedom from that, right? Freedom, profit, impact. There's 3 things you want to do, right? I want the freedom to do what I want to do, serve the people I want to serve, and make an impact. I mean, yeah, I'm making lots of money. Well, what am I doing with it? Sitting on it? Am I looking at it? And I'm making an impact? Am I making my people who work for me better as people? Not just competent employees. What am I doing with all this stuff? How am I reaching my community? What am I doing with all this stuff? So that's what business really is the vehicle for. I mean, a lot of people use it to enrich themselves. All good for them. I don't have a problem with money. The use of it. How do you apply it? It's an infinite thing. Money is, you can always make more money. Money's replenishable, right? Time's not.
Mm-hmm.
You can't replenish time. When it's gone, it's gone. You miss your son or daughter's first soccer game. You're not there. They're going down the field. They get that score. They put that thing in the net, and they turn and look in the bleachers, and you're not there. You're never getting that back. And it's like, it's gone. And it's hard. It's hard for me even saying that, because man, that's like, you got to put it in that kind of perspective, because you have to ask, so why am I working?
Yeah. And it really comes down to a good foundation too, of what we can build upon. And so if business owners come to you and it's never too late, the final chapter has not been written yet, and they come to you, and speaking of chapters, I saw myself, especially in chapter 6, Richard, this isn't good. I need your help. So what are some of those foundational things that you talk to the business owners about?
First thing, it's kind of an interesting thing. I said, well, what's your exit strategy? And this could be because there's 2 times you want to work on your exit strategy. The first and best time is before you start your business. It seems counterintuitive, but no one does think of that because they just want to get going. That's the best time. The second best time would be right now. Exit strategy is this. I'll keep it real high level. How long, how much? How long do I want to do this? And how much do I want for doing it for how long? Right? So if I want to go 10 years and exit for 10 million, okay, there's a plan. Now let's reverse engineer that and see what it's going to take on year 1 or year 5, wherever you're at now, wherever you want to be. What do I have to do? What do I have to put in place? Oh, great, I'm making a 7-figure income. Wow, I'm making $1 million a year in my income. Now I'm going to sell and I'm going to get my 10 or 10.5 or 15 million, whatever you're going to get. What do you lose? $1 million a year in income. Right? So now what do you got? So during the reverse engineer process, okay, so I have to passively replace $1 million a year in income. How do I do that? Is that real estate? Is that other investments? What do I invest? How do I take my active business income and invest it that's going to, in 10 years, make me $83,000 a year?
Yeah,
A
that's
month,
really
I
good.
mean, 83,000 a month,
right.
right? So we
Yeah.
have to think this way, because who doesn't want 10 million when they exit? But again, you're losing $1 million a year. Okay, so we got to, so there's little things like that. And here's the best part of that exit strategy, Michael. It is an incredible business filter. Okay, and what I mean by that is when you start gaining success and doing well, the opportunity fairy is going to come floating along and tempt you to go put money into this and do this business. And you should do this on the side. This really, and you're like, okay, well, give me a minute. Let me run this through my exit strategy. If that gets me closer to it faster, I'm in. If it's not, it's a hard no. Keeps you from that shiny object, distraction, nonsense.
Totally.
Keep you on the main thing, because normally when you're launching a new business, that next thing is 5 years down the road at the earliest. You better have your stuff so dialed in, so moving, like, again, self-run and everything else. You're not entertaining other ideas, because that will drive your business into the ground. Total distraction, total money suck. It'll take everything from you. Again, back to ruining your family. Okay, so that's one of the founding principles.
That's great. And so were some of these things that you're implementing now from your time in the Marine Corps?
So I get asked that a lot, Michael,
Okay.
and it's there's principles, there's leadership principles, there's work ethic principles. I'm a finisher. I'm a mission accomplished guy, not start a mission, not finish the mission. There's no such thing in my life. Okay, sometimes to my detriment. Okay, but I will not be beat. Okay, and I tell you, if you're breathing, you're in the fight.
Yeah.
So we're going to finish the things we start, and if it's bad, so be it. We learn, we move on. But other principles are, I'm a man of honor. So I understand. I operate ethically. To me, that's part of the warrior ethos. Okay, so I really kind of imply that to what I do and how I coach. So yeah, there's some of that, the way I carry myself, and yeah.
Well, that's good. There's the other aspect then that we've kind of touched on is the athleticism, the boxing and the, let's say the resistance training, because life gives us that as well as
Yes.
the gym. And your black belt, I would absolutely love to know what martial art form is your black belt in?
Taekwondo. I'm a first
Okay.
degree black belt. Yep.
Nice.
Not as fun as boxing. Boxing is way better. I'm just saying. Taekwondo's like playing tag. Boxing, you're trying to put someone to sleep. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's way more fun.
And we've got a conversation coming up with Lawrence Dunning, who is a Chicago Golden Globes champ. Golden Gloves, not Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Sorry, wrong industry.
Yeah.
But some people will talk about boxing as human chess around the ring.
Yeah,
And
it's the sweet science. It's amazing.
are there some things from that, like you say, the sweet science of boxing, because I love that sport too, that you've been able to kind of carry over or extrapolate into business?
Well, yeah, boxing was one of those influences. I mean, I'm a champion. I was state gold gloves, all that stuff. Second, 4-state region. I've done a lot of that stuff. But yeah, you really apply it. First of all, business is going to punch you in the face a lot.
That's
sometimes more than boxing. Okay. So you better learn to take some punches. That's kind of the first thing you have to do, right? The great boxers, it's not because they hit hard. It's because they can take a punch.
Yeah.
That's why they're great.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, they also have skills. Don't get me wrong, but if you can't take a shot, the career is going to be short. Okay. So you got to learn how to take shots, or learn how to not take shots, even better. Okay.
Yes.
Learn how to slip and move and everything else. So that's one. The other big analogy that I use for people is you've got to have a great corner man. That's who really kind of helps you win the fight.
Yeah.
Without that, because I'll just tell you real quick how it works, right? So I'm throwing down for a round, right? 3 minutes. I'm doing my thing, working really hard. Think I'm doing okay. Come back, sit down, take a few seconds, take a sip of water. Everyone's quiet. And the corner man says, all right, listen, you're not throwing up on your hook to the body. Okay, you're coming across. You got to bring it up. Do that. The shot's there. All right. That's it. That's all he says. And you go out and you're focused on one thing. And you look and it's open and thump, and you hit that right side and you compress that liver, and he takes a step back and starts gasping for breath and falls on the mat flopping like a fish.
There you
fight
go.
over.
Yes.
Because your cornerman saw the one mistake you were making, corrected it, fight over. So cornermen, coaches,
Yeah.
people in your life who can give you that kind of insight, who can see that, have the outside eyes to view, that's one of the best analogies I can use.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good. And you can look at the different punches as tools in your tool belt as a boxer and let's say floating around the ring. But the other part that you had mentioned, you touched on briefly, that entry and exit strategy, because money is a tool as well. Just like we have our human assets and our personnel. I just wanted to circle back to that idea that you had of you're building your business and you've got those human assets who are doing their thing, their tools in your tool belt as an owner. But then we may not always think of our dollar bills that come in as tools that are going to help us. Can you talk a little bit about how either what's worked well for you or what you've seen work well for your clients?
Yeah, it's really, quick little story. My kids, when they were little, they like get a couple dollars and stuff like that, and they're sitting around the dining room table and they're like, what should I do with this? I go, well, remember Dad when I had all those employees? I had the business, and they're like, yeah. I go, I was doing pretty well, right? They go, yeah. I said, well, every one of those workers, think of them as being a dollar. Okay, you got a few dollars. The more dollars you get, the more workers you have. What can you do? More work. And what does that do? It makes more money. So you want to build up your dollars. So think about that. That was kind of my savings plan for them.
That's
Trying
good.
to put some context there. But from the business standpoint, again, we talk about that active business income, money that's coming in. There's a thing called Parkinson's Law. And Parkinson's Law is if you don't have a plan for your money, a place for it to go, it'll evaporate.
Sure will.
I come to you, Michael, and say, Michael, you're just a good dude, man. Here's $100 for being a good dude. And you put it in your pocket, and 3-4 days later, you're
Oh,
like,
man.
didn't I have $100? No, you took your wife to lunch, and you took your kid this, and you bought this, and it's gone. You don't know what you did with it. Totally unaccounted for. Okay? So in business, the sooner, and in life, I don't care if you're working for someone, it's got to go somewhere. You know how it's better if you never see it? You put 10% in savings and you put 15% over here. I tithe my 10%. I do that. Oh, look, I'm left with $72 to spend. Okay. Yeah, but I made $1,072. Okay, well, that's how it works. Right? Now, all that money's out working. It's in investments, it's doing things. You give to the Lord, right? You've got all this stuff and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And you're building that. My kids now, Michael, are 18, 19, 20, all have been investing for years. Working jobs. They're hard workers. They're out there. My one son from 16 to 18, his 16th to 18th birthday, made $90,000.
Wow.
Okay, you're like, that's
good for him.
I made like 900 during those years. Okay, It's like if I was lucky, So I'm like, well, this is what it's about. And then they're investing all the time. $5 here, $100 there. Oh, I get a $500 bonus every month from work. I just put it into my investments. Oh, that's like, holy cow, that's some great discipline.
That is some very good discipline.
But it's just gone, and now it grows.
Yeah.
And when your 18 comes up and shows you the stock portfolio, and they're showing what's up and down in their stuff,
yeah,
it's a proud dad moment.
Yes. And
they're not showing me the game they're playing.
That's
they're
right.
showing me their stocks.
Yes. And anybody can do that. Like, that is not outside the realm of possibilities. I've had some terrible teachable moments in the stock market, but also some delightful wins as well. But I won't lament the losses because they taught me something. And what I wanted to, you were talking about the different baskets that you have, and there's so many people that want to make our money their money. And so when it's like J.D. Rockefeller had a 100-year plan for every dollar that his company made. And he would say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't spend that. Little son or daughter came up, I want to go for ice cream. Well, not with this dollar, because I've already got it pegged over here. And that you mentioned the giving to the Lord. And just, I know a thought that we have, we're very wise that the Apostle Paul said, determine beforehand what you're going to give so that you can't be manipulated and you can be a cheerful giver. And we don't give to the man or the woman on the stage, but we're very intentional that we're building our kingdom or God's kingdom or somebody else's kingdom. And if that money is flowing through the holes in our pockets, like it talks about in the book of Haggai in the Bible, we're building somebody else's kingdom when we're not intentional.
That's right.
Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com. 5am Podcast is brought to you in part by mkci.ca. Visit mkci.ca today to discover how they can enhance your competitive CAD advantage. That's mkci.ca. Thank you for your support of 5am Podcast. And of course, I can't give financial advice, but ladies and gentlemen, I can point you in the direction. And so the other thing that I want to ask you then about Richard is, you've already mentioned this, the profit, the freedom, and the impact. And can you talk about how these three elements really do work together? Maybe they're like the three legs on a stool or something. Can you talk about that in this balanced business routine?
Yeah. So, everyone wants to be profitable. Everyone wants to make profit.
Yeah.
I will say, I won't go into the detail, but you really need to understand what profit is first.
Okay.
Because most people don't know. They don't know gross profit from real net profit. They don't know. There's a lot of intricacies in business. And if you were in my position the first 20 years, the only thing I thought business was making money. I didn't know there's other things to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So, cautionary tale, there's a lot, the hard part's on the other side of making money. Making money is the easiest thing you can do in business. Okay. It's a shocking statement, but I'm telling you, it's the easiest thing you can do. It's everything else that's hard. And just like we're talking about now, having that money go to the right places. Right.
Yeah,
Really important to understand this. So when we're looking at profit, what's it for? Like, you have to have, people always talk about the why, like why you're doing your business.
Right.
What's the vision you're doing? But what's the profit for? We talk about Rockefeller. He was asked how much is enough. You know what he said?
No.
Just $1 more.
Of course.
Okay. There's the guy who's never satisfied, right? So we don't want to be that. Okay.
Yeah.
That guy was oh boy, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that is a whole,
but
3 shows.
But yeah, exactly. So think about what you're going to do with this profit. Remember when we talked to exit strategy was how long and how much?
Yeah.
Money's same thing. How much? How much is enough? What am I doing? What's your dream income? What would you be satisfied with if you said you get to choose right now, but that's all you're going to get? You're going to have that. That's the amount you'll get. So if it's, I want to make, $475,000 a year. Okay. And that's all you're going to get. Is that enough? For some people, it's a lot. For other people, it's like, man, you cut me in half. I'm not living on that. Right. It's all relative. Right. So what we want to really decide is what is your ideal, right? Your best life, your highest thing. What does that look like? So now we got to create profit. Are you going for that? And during that journey, what are you encountering? I talked about creating the passive income, those investments that'll pay you that. So if you're not working, I still have $83,000 a month coming in. That's good. And then I can do other things, right? So when you decide what you're going to do with profit, that's the first thing, right? It's going to get divvied up. You got to understand where that's going to go. And when you understand where it's going to go, you can determine how much you need. Think about that. If 10% is the minimum for tithing, just saying, okay, there's 10%. Okay, you can always get that. And if you got a 5% investment strategy, 5% of everything you earn, that's that, right? If you got, college funds or whatever it's going to be, right? Home repairs, whatever. Build all that out. What's that going to take? Now you know what you need for a profit. Not revenue, obviously, just profits. So without profit, the freedom's really hard to have. Okay? I'm not saying it's not the only way to have freedom, but if you're making profit and you've got your buckets being filled, there's always food on the table. There's gas in the car. Maybe you have more than one car. You got a house. You got the things and you're going along. Okay? That's when you create the freedom. You are going to all your kids' games. You are going on vacations. You are going on a date night with your wife, and they're really good date nights. Okay? So we're doing things like that. Okay, great. Now we got the freedom. Now, okay, good. I got profit. I got freedom. I'm kind of doing all that. Then you're going to find when you get to that point, like, I kind of have some time because I've done these right things in my business, everything else. Now comes impact. Now you've taken care of your family. You've taken care of the business. Now it's to go make impact and take care of others. Okay, we have to go in that order. Right? We have to understand you can't go make impact while your family can't eat.
Yes.
Because you're busy out, impressing people with yourself. Okay, and the things you're doing is like, oops, got to reel you back a little bit here, man. Kids want to eat.
And paying your employees too.
Exactly.
I'm
Quality
sure
pay.
many of us know those business owners. I'll put that in air quotes, business
Yes.
owners who are on the impact end of the scale, and they're forgetting about the men and women that actually, the boots on the ground, who were making the money, and they're not paying them.
Or they're not giving impact to them.
Or not giving impact to the staff. Yes.
I mean, you have to start in the house.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Your home,
love
your
that.
family, right? We got God, we got my wife, we got my kids, in that order. Okay. From there, I have a business. Now I have
Yes.
my business and the people in my business.
Yeah.
From there, I can go outside. So again, I'm supporting families as a business owner. If I have 45 employees, that's 45 families. Okay. That could be, 200 people.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you ever take a moment to think about what you're doing as owning a business, what you're providing, and that's just the basics.
Yes.
Right now, you want to talk about making impact. How am I going to make them better as people? How do we elevate them? How do we give them real purpose here and outside of here? Right. So you can be pretty consumed with doing stuff without really having to travel to Africa to go on a mission.
That's right. And there's so much opportunity to build people. I know Jim Tracy, I'm not sure if you've met him, but a delightful fellow, and talks so much about building businesses and building men and women. And the people that God brings through your life, some ebb and flow, some are just on that stream going straight through one end out the other. But there's other people that come to stay, and that we have the opportunity to build up, and their gifts to us too, where they can build us up. And can you talk a little bit more, maybe some of the things where you've seen, where you've been building up men and women, or you've had clients come in that really grabbed a hold of, oh, wow, I am my brother's keeper and I'm going to enjoy that?
Yeah, I've seen it a lot, especially with my clients, but even in my business and some other businesses, people have this thing that, like, a big challenge in business is retention, keeping people, right? Everyone's leaving. They're going to sell you out for $1. They say they're going, you don't pay me enough. They never leave because of money, by the way. That's just what they tell you. Okay. They leave because they don't have purpose. Okay. They don't get any feedback. They don't get any recognition. Okay. The place is a hot mess and they're leaving. And they'll tell you it's because you're getting paid more down the road. Okay. It's probably just a new mess for them to go to, but so we have to do that, right? We have to understand what that is. And when you're looking at it from that aspect, what's your idea of someone who hires? Are you this jealous and greedy person who wants to keep them with you? So you're actually going to limit their growth so they stay and work with you. And maybe you'll give them a little more money here and there to kind of get the carrot out there to keep them so you don't have to whack them with the stick, that kind of thing. But what are you really doing for them? Yeah, they're working, they're doing a thing. Are you skilling them up? Are you making them super competent at their job itself? Like make them great great stewards of their capabilities, right? You start elevating them, but they're going to leave. If I do that, then they're going to go work somewhere else. I say, okay, well, let's try to have this attitude. I want everyone to be excellent. Okay? I want everyone to be excellent. I want to be great. Now, and I also have this saying I came up with it's pretty fancy. I'm going to share it with you. Okay?
All right.
Everybody leaves. That's my
true.
saying. Okay?
Yes.
That's my fancy saying. They're all going to go. Some might be 5 years. Some might be 5 weeks. Some might be, and I've had it happen, at the 10:30 a.m. break, first day. They're going to leave. Okay. So everybody leaves. All right. So we need to understand that, right? How do you make that work? You embrace it and say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my people great when the time comes. Because listen, all jobs have a ceiling, right? You only get, but people might want more. Some people are content. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw them a big party. They're moving on to this other job. We're going to throw them a party. I'm going to take their picture. I'm going to put it on the wall in the office called the Hall of Fame. This guy came here, worked 3, 5 years, 7 years, went on to run the community college, okay, for like HVAC, whatever. And there he is now. He's the head guy, run the whole thing. He started here. He worked to learn all this, and I love it. Okay. And then people are like, well, I go, well, think how this works now. He'll never forget you.
Yeah.
You trained him up to get him qualified for that kind of job. There's a lot of joy just in that. Now, when here he is running this whole organization, and some young buck comes up and wants to get into that profession, he says, well, go talk to Richard. You want to work for him. You know why I'm here? Because of him. You go work for him, put in your time with him, he'll make sure you go somewhere because that's how he operates. Right? So now I've got this incredible lead flow for new workers because they're not going to send me garbage. Right? They understand it. Now these kids come with an expectation. They have to earn to be hired. They have to earn the job, and then they know where they're at. Right? And this is how we operate. And they see all these people on the wall who have come and went on to better things. Like that's the place you want to work at. There's a future beyond this place if I want it. If not, you can stay here and work as long as you want. Right? So that's one of those big things on the retention aspect. Like people aren't really grabbing. They don't really know how to take care of their people. They don't know how to build them up. I mean, really, and I tell people as Christians, okay, as I'm a believer, I have to operate in excellence. If I'm doing all things as unto the Lord, am I going to do it halfway? I'm going to shirk my responsibility? No, I have to do it in excellence. And here's another thing. For me to be a witness for Christ, if I'm not excellent at what I do, I hold no authority. Who's going to believe me about my testimony when I'm a slacker? Okay, they don't want to be a slacker. They don't want to get their advice from a slacker.
Exactly. Or a lazy bones.
That's right.
Right.
But when you're respected, doesn't mean I'm going to go hit them over the head. It means that when the door opens, they're going to listen.
Yeah.
When I have that window of opportunity, it's going to be there. But you have to start there. And we have to understand who we're truly serving.
Right.
Right. And once you understand that, that's all the proverbial trickle down.
Right.
Into everyone else.
So is this kind of where that lifetime profitable value comes in? Can you talk about that and why it matters? Yes.
Yeah. So LPV, lifetime profitable value, understand this if you're in business. I always give this example. I had a roofing company, right? So people put a roof on, it's supposed to last 30 years. This will be 30 years. So let me ask you, you're going to go give them a new roof. You're done. Everything's good. You're getting your final check. Say, okay, I'll see you in 30 years. Is that a good thing to say? Are you literally like not going to come back and ever see them in 30 years because they don't have any more money for the next 30 years? Is that the idea? Or is there like a reason to come back? Like, oh, look, I do siding and windows. Your siding will need it next. You're actually worth, instead of the $20,000 for the roof, you're worth about $120,000 to me of all the things I could do for you.
Yeah.
Over the next 10 years.
And how you can improve their home.
Exactly.
And their
That's
quality
it, right?
of life.
All that. So you start looking at what's the ongoing service. Because from a business standpoint, if someone buys from you once, unless you're a complete bust out and you don't deliver, they're going to buy from you again. So you must create the opportunity for them to share their money with you. Okay, deliver great things, do the next thing. And over time, here's a great example. Car dealerships. Okay, sell a car. Let's use my family. There's 8 of us. I have a car. My wife has a car. I got kids. Now they're growing up. Guess what 6 kids need? 6 cars. So the dealer that I go to, I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Yeah, we bought ours. And every 3.5, 4 years, it's a new car. For me, for my wife, my kids. Now, over a span of what, 20 years? I'm a multiple 7-figure client for that car dealer if he takes care of me.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Like, yeah, you sold a car and it was 45. No cars are 40 grand. They're all like 70 now.
I know.
But cars, it's like, that's a lot of money. I buy 10 cars. I'm at $700,000.
Yes.
Okay. That's one exchange, Now I got the other kids. I'm like, we're worth a lot of lifetime profitable value, but you know what the dealers don't do? They don't think about that. You can go to any dealer and buy a car. They don't follow up. Some do. Some are really good about it, but they don't offer the service. I have some that they just ghost you. Like, I feel so used. I feel dirty. I'm going to go take a shower. I just bought a car from this dealership. Okay. So it's like, the whole thing. You just look at that like, what an opportunity. It's a high value industry. You always do, so I find it fascinating, and that crosses over to any business.
Yes.
So that's LPV. You want to have that because people, if you serve them well, they want to be served again. Why do you go back to your favorite restaurant? Is it because it's a terrible experience? No, you go because it's great and they know you and they say your name and they fill the water as soon as it's half empty, man. They're back and they're bringing out the awesome dessert tray and they know exactly what you like. You're going to keep going there.
That's right.
You're going to have tens of thousands with them over 20 years.
That's right. And as we've heard in a song, Once Upon a Time, you want to go where everybody knows your name.
That's right.
What else can you say?
Cheers.
And exactly. So the that follow up and building relationship that you're talking about, and just as an aside, ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening to this, we're talking about new vehicles, and my wife and I have been fortunate to do that. And there are people out there that will say, no, don't do that. But you know what? Do what you want, ladies and gentlemen. Determine beforehand what you want, and don't be dissuaded or manipulated by the man on the stage or the TV screen or wherever that is. But I wanted to ask you then, speaking of that relationship building that a successful car owner, dealerships or salesmen or women can do. I had a coworker when I was in college. I still remember this. He said his grandfather only bought from this one particular Lincoln Mercury dealer because every Christmas, like clockwork, his grandfather got a Christmas card and from that salesman at the dealership, and he'd been buying for 30 years from that one dealership. So what are some of those key habits or mindset locks that people would have that separate the successful entrepreneur from those who struggle?
So you're exactly right. I know another guy, same thing, 35 years selling cars at the same dealer. Dealership's been there 60 years. He doesn't go on the lot. He's not trying to get ups, what they call them, and something.
Okay,
He's sitting there on his phone all day.
right.
And people are walking in, time for another car, John. Okay, what do you need? They call ahead. What do you got? He gets it all set. They come in, they make a deal, and they're out.
Yes.
He's doing full deals in an hour and 30 minutes max instead of 4.
Right.
And like, they're just coming to do the thing because they love him. And here's what he does, right? He stays in contact. He doesn't just sell them. He checks in. How was everything? Any new kids? I heard your son just had a baby boy. How cool is that, right? Now you're multi-generational.
Yes.
Okay, and he's talking to him. So it's called, there's warming the lead. Someone's new, you want to get them prepped and warmed up. Don't just show up cold. They don't know you from anyone. Then there's nurturing. So that would fall in the nurturing category. Yes. You want to nurture your relationships, okay? And this is any relationship, right? I got a best friend, I see him once a year. He's my best friend. And we get together for 3 days and we catch up in a year in 3 days. We never stop talking and we have a great time. But other people, people, and then how you just get that distance, and they just go away. You may reconnect, but it's never going to be the same.
Never the same.
Because you didn't nurture the relationship. You didn't reach out once in a while, even if it's just a Christmas card, okay, or a phone call here and there or a text.
Yes.
Oh, I'll send them something. Man, I watched this and I thought of you. Got to check this thing out. We do that. Here's a sermon I saw, man. Check this out. This is super cool. We do that kind of stuff. But that nurturing aspect is what it's about. And the problem today, Michael, is you got AI, which I use a lot. I'm not anti-AI. Yep. I use it a ton. But everyone is starting to automate too much of their life. And they're automating their relationships. Okay, we have to be really, really careful about this over-automation aspect, right? You've got to press the flesh, as they say. You got to shake someone's hand. You got to spend time. You got to look them in the eye. Here's what I learned in sales, too, as we're moving some big stuff. I don't do cold email sequences anymore. I'm not going, instantly I can send out 5,000 emails. And I'm like, what am I doing? Hi, you don't know me from anybody. I'm an email. Please spend $500,000 with me. Okay. I'm like, no, you know what I'm doing? I walk into a plant in the big doors because the front doors are locked because they don't have one at the front desk anymore. They don't want anyone coming in, right? Because everyone's afraid of whatever. Well, I go in the big doors and I got steel-toe boots on, safety glasses, got a hat if I need it. I got the high vis, and just start talking. Who's the shift lead? Talk to them, work my way up. Next thing you know, a week later, I'm talking to the CEO and I'm closing a deal. No emails at all. Right? Literally a clipboard with a flyer.
Yes.
And a website like, here, let's try. And it's like, oh man, you got some stones.
Yes.
I'm like, I just walk in like I own the place. I don't, whatever. I'm looking I got a clipboard. I must be important. I don't know.
Yes.
People don't know. So you find these ways to do it. And I'd rather do one of those. One of those for me is I could never make that money with cold email. Right. So it's worth the time. That's relationship. Yeah. That's what you build. That relationship aspect is what you build. That's part of LPV, right? That's really part of your freedom, profit, and impact. That part of freedom, the ability to create more relationships because you're not at your desk every day, all day, and making phone calls doesn't count as making
Yes.
relationships. Okay. Those
Right.
are cold calls. It's all in that same category. Who are you really making a difference to? Who are you able to speak into their life? Or a lot of times it goes the other way. You actually meet someone like, man, that's the coolest guy I ever met. I got to hang out with this guy. Like I want to I want to hang out with this guy. I got to learn more, So you're like, dude, what are you doing next week?
Yes.
Stuff like that. So that's what I think in that aspect.
That's really good. And it's good sales advice too. And I really hate cold calling, but I love building relationships. And there's that old saying that I heard many years ago of a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Yeah, I
But
like that.
when we can build those relationships and you can build those bridges, makes me think of one of the very early guests on 5am podcast was Douglas Ernest, who owns Corvette Warehouse in Texas. And it is the largest Corvette dealership, I think, west of the Mississippi or in the Southwest, something like that. But ladies and gentlemen, and Richard, can you imagine just having a warehouse full of Corvettes, and that is what you sell? And everybody knows they're not going to come to you for a Ford Lightning or something like that because, well, Douglas just doesn't have them. He's got Corvettes. And what a good business model. Do you have a story or someone that you've met or worked with who is kind of like that they found out they were really good at doing this one thing and people would try and distract them, but they just had the blinders on?
I had a guy on yesterday, Michael, on my podcast.
Okay.
Awesome guy. It's Top Dog Canine.
Okay.
So he's doing this about 15 years, but he learned to train dogs because he had this crazy dog that he actually couldn't train. He got another dog and he trained it. But here's what he does. So he started training. He goes, well, what people need is it to sit, to lay down, to come. Okay. Now, he's like 4 things. And I can do that. I can do that very quickly. I can do it in 20 minutes with any dog. So he goes, I'm going to start doing that. And he'll charge $300 an hour. And I'm like, okay, so we're talking. He did that. He goes, well, I got a couple of people. They started doing it. I taught some other people. Now I got a franchise. I'm in 11 states. I've got all these things, right? He's done Dallas, Fort Worth. He's done all these areas, right? And he's doing all this stuff. And he's like, they buy a franchise and I train them. I do all this stuff and they're doing all this, but we only do that. He goes, we don't do anything else. Because I asked him, I said, what's the upsell?
Yeah.
He goes, there isn't one. I go, okay. So I'm asking, did you run the numbers? Okay, there's 75 million dogs. And so I can keep training new dogs because I'll never run out. So I don't need it. And he did all this stuff. Guys love it and they get other territories, but he's like, that's what it is. You don't, he stayed on focus. He's like, everyone said, do this, do that. All these different people do dog training. Because I do this, and people come to me and they get an instantly trained dog. In 20 minutes, they can do what I do. I show them how to do it. Then they bring me their next dog. Dog rescues are a big thing. So he works with all that. So here's a guy who saw this niche through need. And his funny story was he had this totally out of control dog and he kept losing roommates because they couldn't handle the dog. I'm like, dude, you ever figure out you got to get rid of the dog? He goes, yeah, eventually I figured out I need to pay rent and I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
So I get rid of the dog and, but that whole story turned into him and his wife doing all this stuff and but staying laser focused, on that one thing, just like the Corvette guy. It's the same thing.
Yes.
There's no difference there. You're not coming here for anything else. You just got to decide what year Corvette you want.
Yes, that's right. Color and year. That's it.
Do I want a 75 or do I want a 2025? What do I want? So, yeah. So that my other clients as well, by focusing on what they do, because most guys are doing what they do with another this, another that, and they haven't created that excellence, that kind of perfection, if you will. I know there's no such thing, but it's so dialed in that this thing can run by itself. They haven't done that. That's when you go and add another spoke to the hub. So a business is a hub in the center. The tire is the business world. Everything needs to come back to the hub. So if I was going to start another business, it has to feed into what I'm currently doing. It has to be relatable. It can't be something totally why would I ever do that? But it all feeds profit streams into the center of the hub, right? So once we perfect that one thing, now we've created the system to do that. Now we can duplicate that system. So one of my custom home contractors went from that to owning an insulation company, to owning a property management company. He did. So now we can do all this and repeat the same system building. So you can get a distressed business for 10, 20 cents on the dollar, turn that thing around very, very quickly and have it highly profitable, serving the people it should be serving, charging the prices it should, but you're so efficient, you're maximizing your real net profit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're not wrapping up quite yet, but you're talking like this is a shut up and take my money kind of moment, Richard. So how can people get in touch with you?
So they can go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com.
Okay.
And just go to that and connect with me. And
Yeah.
if they want to set up a little time to talk, they can book a call time. We'll do a 15-minute. I'll see what's going on. I'll ask them what's happening with their business and see how I can help them.
Yes. So you were talking about distressed businesses, which means there was a distressed owner and a distressed family.
Yes. I've been there.
And can you talk about maybe that, but what other ways do people or can they scale up their business?
Okay, so we're going to do two quick definitions.
Okay.
Okay. When people say scale, I want to scale my business. Well, most people know you don't. What you want to do is grow your business.
Okay.
And here's the difference. Growth costs money. Okay. So scaling's a different thing. That's another level. Your first level is growth. And you're going to pour a lot of money in. You're going to get more equipment in another place. You're going to figure more things out. How do I serve at this larger level? Once you have to figure all that out, so let's call it locations. You got one location here, now you're going to open a second location. Okay, now you're going to find out, can you actually duplicate what you do in a second and then a third location? Okay, when you get to location 3 and they're all using the same system and they're all humming along and they're self-managed, they don't need you. Now it's time to scale because you got repeatable systems. You're not creating a new system. You have everything starts to become repeatable. Yes, you're still going to spend money, but nothing like the growth level, right? So people need to understand where they're at in their business. Okay. Are you growing or are you ready to scale? Most people are in growth mode because they don't have the ability to duplicate simply and repeatably, right? Really important to understand that. That's where a lot of people, they overexpand and they're crushed. They're crushed and they go bankrupt because they haven't built a support system for that kind of growth, right? It's really important to understand that.
Well, it makes me think of the game Monopoly. I always liked the utilities in the railway, mostly because nobody else would buy them. But I knew it was guaranteed income. That was kind of my system for Monopoly. But if some people, they feel like they're just going around the board time and again, and they might be collecting their money, but, they're kind of escaping jail just a little bit and they're pulling out the chance cards. Can you talk about that versus a better way to have a business plan and model?
Yeah. So first thing I think people need really is what we call a strategic vision. Where are you going with your business? Now, I'll put the brakes on right here and say, I'm not talking about a 10 or 20-year plan.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking 18 to 24 months from now. You're in your business. What are you actually trying to achieve? So it's what you're going to do. It's called future casting. What are you going to do with your business? Not what you're doing now. What does that look like? How do you lay out a strategic vision for where you want to go and achieve so that everyone on your team can participate in that? It's Habakkuk 2:2, right? Write it down plainly on tablets so you can pick it up and run, right? We want to run with the vision. People have to understand the vision. Now, this is not a mission statement. No, they have an AKA wallpaper.
Yeah.
That's what a mission statement is. If I go into a business and there's a mission statement, we're going to be the best and blah, blah, blah. I take it off the wall. I put it in the trash can. I go, that's where that belongs.
Yes.
We don't do that because that only feeds the ego of the owner. No one is inspired by your mission statement. Nobody. It's just not happening. So they want vision. How are they the hero in this journey of achieving this vision?
Yeah.
How do you show them that? And we have a whole method for that. But the point is, you really have to understand where you're going as a company, and it's not a revenue amount. Okay. Vision, you're going back to the impact. What are we actually trying to do? Why are we doing this? Who are we serving? We're not taking A, turning it into B, and then giving it to Mrs. Smith. That's not our business model. Okay. Why does Mrs. Smith want this? Why would she want this? What's it doing for her life? How does it change? Blah, blah, blah. Lowe's had the great thing about 2x4s, and 2x6s. Like, this is going to be for the 80-year-old grandmother having her last family reunion, building a deck, a giant deck where, 4 generations of people are going to be there from her family. She's going to experience this. So that's what we're selling. We're not selling wood. You have to understand, like, that's the real outcome. And when you understand that, and everyone on the team understands that, now everybody's working for purpose. They understand what they're truly delivering, not parts or machines. So that's kind of how I see that working, is from a very beginning thing, that vision. And it's difficult to do properly. We have a method and everything else, but once you get it, it moves everyone on your staff. They're moved to like tears because people are starved for purpose.
Oh man, that's for sure.
If you know any people, people are starved for purpose. If you don't know any people, well, you're probably starved for purpose.
Yeah, right.
But people are like, you just go talk to them, they're listless.
Yeah.
They got nothing.
And purpose is where the fuel that we call joy comes from. And of course, joy and happiness, 2 completely different things. They might see each other at the bar on a Friday night, but joy and happiness are completely different. But when we have that purpose, boy, oh boy, isn't it delightful to have the joy in there, regardless of the hits and misses. So as we're wrapping up, Richard, what advice would you give to a business owner? His ears are perked up and he's finding out that he can train his dog in 25 minutes, and you know the man, but they might be stuck with some other things right now and they want to start moving toward freedom and impact. What's your advice to that man or that woman?
I think, just like we just talked about, is really figure out your vision. What are you doing this for? Okay, people say the why and stuff. I really like to lay out that vision. Lay out where you're going to go. Don't think about what you're doing now isn't good enough. 100% guarantee you, especially if you're stuck. Okay, why are you stuck? You're stuck like the majority of all small businesses. They're all in the same place. I like to fondly say, you guys are all doing the wrong things. Okay, so I can usually help you because there's only so many wrong things you're going to do, but the pattern, it's just a common. Most people don't start a business because they're great at business. That's not who's doing it. Who's doing it is the guy with a hammer, or a guy with a keyboard or whatever, and they go out and they want to do this thing, and they have that, I call it ignorance on fire.
Yes.
And I love ignorance on fire. It gets you a long ways, but eventually your hair goes away. Okay, and you got nothing left. So you got to understand, ignorance on fire is a great way to get off the launch pad. But then you got to dial this in. So how do you make a sustainable business? So you got to start looking at your plan. We talked about exit strategy. Go to that. What does that look? And then reverse engineer that and see where you've gone wrong or how you can correct your path going forward and have that purpose. Now you have stages. When you hire the next person, the next one, when you take additional marketing ground, right, and growth and stuff like that, you understand that because you're achieving an actual end. Because if you're just doing business to make an income, when is that over?
Yeah.
When is that? That's just a job.
Mm-hmm. Well, Richard, thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom and your passion with us today.
You're welcome, Michael. This was awesome. I appreciate you having me on.
Loved it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you're picking up what Richard is laying down and you can actually see that building profits, building people, building your family and your business and your community. So just remember, you can find Richard's work at Sharpen the Spear Coaching. That is a powerful, powerful place, ladies and gentlemen, for you to start. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thank you for listening in and keeping your spear sharpened with this conversation. So please, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy those sunrises and sunsets, all those beautiful adventures in between. We will keep you posted on our next episode, and we will catch you on that next one. I'm Michael Klassen. This has been the 5 a.m. Podcast. Thanks for watching the show. Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com. 5 a.m. Podcast is brought to you in part by mkci.ca, a certified member of the Autodesk Developer Network. MKCI helps companies maximize their AutoCAD, Inventor, Navisworks, and other design software investments. Their innovative products like the CommandSys script editor and the Clash Management Suite will streamline your workflow and boost your productivity. Visit mkci.ca today to discover how they can enhance your competitive CAD advantage. That's mkci.ca. Thank you for your support of 5am Podcast.